Are you familiar with the works of Alan Watts? He was a spiritual speaker, I think probably in the 60s and 70s. I'm not 100% sure, but he would go around the country giving lectures here, I think in America as well. He was well travelled and a well experienced as spiritual type person. Anyway, the internet's full of some of his works and his audio recordings, and you can just bung it in. I'm sure many of you do know who I'm talking about, and if you don't, he's definitely worth listening to. Anyway, I have a habit of occasionally listening to inspirational talks and things when I'm cooking dinner or with the lovely Julia or what have you. And last night I put one on and I was bowled over by what he was talking about, and the link will be in the description so you can hear the way he talks about it. And he talks about in particular the role of the father in the family and children and the bringing up of children, and this really had a strong resonance with me. You see, he says, and I think it's very true, that the family, the unit of the family comes from a sort of agrarian background where you live in the countryside, you live with the soil, you live with a farming kind of community. That's how, I mean, that is our background, is it not? We came from hunter-gatherers, and then we became farmers, and the whole family unit became involved in the whole process of survival, basically, by growing our own food. But we've gone into an industrial mode now, and we live in an industrial age. And what we have done is we've broken up that family. The father goes off to work, disappears from the family unit. You don't know where he goes. He earns some money. And the family genuinely doesn't really care what he does. He might be working in a call centre, doesn't really know the kind of work that the father does. Of course, I'm not saying women don't do this as well. They do. But this is sort of how the typical portrayal of the industrial world has been. And of course, now we're even more atomised as a family. You've got both parents, shall we say, mothers and fathers, disappearing from the family home. The point being is that the parent, and I have to be careful when I say parent, because people understand that words have hidden meanings now in legalese, but I'm just talking it in Oxford English dictionary terms, that the mother and the father separate themselves from the children, from the boys and the girls. And this is a worrying development, really, because the mother and the father go off and disappear and make something called money. They come back. And the family doesn't really care how that money is made to a degree. It's just they go off somewhere and they bring it back. And this is something that, to me, was interesting, the way Alan Watts phrases it. Instead of perhaps being skillful, doing stuff at home, say carpentry or blacksmithing or making candles or being a butcher, and having the children effectively apprenticing to those skills, apprenticing to what the father and the mother do, instead of involving them perhaps in the house, in the cooking and the making things, the putting up of the shed, and I don't know, whatever it is that families do in whatever place they do them, is we've sort of segregated children. We give them toys to say, no, you can't touch the real things. You can't play with the real pots and pans. You can't get involved in real life. You've got to play with something which is a substitute. Because I'm very busy over here and you might get hurt. You can't actually look after the baby, but we'll give you a doll to represent the baby. And it is interesting, this, and it's very thought-provoking for me to see how actually we're pushing children one step away from the family unit. And then, of course, we send them to school and they go off and they learn this stuff, which is really pretty useless for them, because all they're going to do is repeat the process that when they have children, they will again give them stuff and tasks which is separate from what the grown-ups do. And it's really bizarre that we do this. We've got this industrial age where you're always preparing for something. You're preparing the children for going to school. You prepare them to going to bigger school. You prepare them for going to university, which is in itself a preparation to go to work. And then the work you spend doing, and because that's preparing you for retirement. And retirement is preparing you for death. And you're never actually living in the moment, doing the things that you really want. And as Alan Watts says, it's about happiness and it's about being together. And in many ways, this so talks to me that we've lost that sense of what family is really about by sending people out to work, sending children out to institutions, instead of actually being together as a unit and enjoying life and growing our own stuff, making our own stuff, singing our own songs. We do this with everything, don't we? We have professional entertainers that will appear on the television. So we'll just sit back and be entertained by watching films or television programs, and even on the internet we'll do this by watching YouTube videos, and we take ourselves away from the essence of what it really is. And now some people will say, oh God, I can't, how do you do this? Well, I think it is a slow step back. It is a sea change back to actually embrace the family and friends and the communities. I mean, this is what it really comes back down to, is in my mind, we've lost communities. We've lost the small village where everybody was entwined with one another. You could leave your back door open because somebody wasn't going to go in and steal anything. If anything, they'll go in and check on the baby, or they'll check that the pie in the oven hasn't burnt, that people were looking out for one another, that there was a cohesive family, and the family was not just the immediate family, but the village. And we've lost this in this world. And I think this is where we feel in our gut as we're threatened by these artificial things, the surveillance and the 5G and the digital IDs, and the more these things are coming on board, the entrapment and the slow 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, or the fact that the police now seem to be very much against us just trying to collect money, that we've got enforcement officers knocking on our door trying to get money, that people have been atomized, and the friendliness, the love, the caring, the community has drifted on, that we're all isolated boats bumping into each other. And as soon as you do that, oh, well, that's going to cost you some money. There's this sort of them and us feeling with everybody. We've lost that. No, I'm here to help you. No, come on in, have a cup of tea. No, what's the problem? No, don't worry about you when a bit over the speed limit. You know, just be careful when you drive. We don't need to keep watching you with these cameras. We don't need to have a digital ID when you need to talk to some authority that's trying to actually supposed to be helping you. We don't need all of that. But we feel it in our guts, don't we? We feel it that the world is full of now this very, what would you call it, fakery, this sort of, I don't care about you, you're just a number, you're not part of me. We've all become isolated, as I say, in our own little bubbles, and never the twain ever meet. And that's why I think well, we've got this sense that there's loads of people saying, no, we've got to rebuild these communities, and people are coming up with ideas. They're joining up. There's definitely a movement to bring back the family of not just an immediate family of mum and dad and boy and girl, but the family of the village, that village mentality that we're all pulling together, that we're all part of something. Maybe you don't feel it, but I think that it is coming, because this old system has died. It's not working for us. We don't want to be surveilled and have digital IDs. We don't want to have to go off to work to some place, you know, miles away, in which the family have no notion of what mum and dad does. We want to be cohesive. We want to be part of it. The kids want to learn those skills from their parents and their friends and family and the community. And I feel that's where we're going back to, and that's why there's this growing sense that things aren't right, and that we are slowly realising that we've had our our head in the sand. We haven't been looking at how we've been treating each and one of us. I don't know whether any of this has made sense and whether I'm a bit rambling today. I do feel today is a bit of a rambling day, but then this whole year feels already going to be quite a rocky year, and my coherence, I feel, is just disappearing because of the strange things. But I do think that at the end of this awakening process, this realization that we've been on the wrong railway track, that we're heading in the wrong direction, that more and more of us are saying, stop the train, stop the world, I want to get off, I want to get back on the other track. And I think that's happening, and will continue to happen in huge numbers as we progress this year. So, I think that's where we're going. Sorry that this has been a bit disjointed, but I feel that this is something that more and more of us are starting to realize, that the family and the family of the village and the family of humanity has been broken. And we're slowly realizing and coming back together again, and working out those ways how we can do it. And that can only be a good thing.